greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Dr. Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. King and the history of the Lorraine Motel will be forever intertwined. Nearly 50 years ago, on April 4th, 1968, tragic violence resulted in his death. Walter Bailey, the motel owner, preserved 2 rooms, 306 and 307, honoring Dr. King and Bailey's wife, who died days after Dr. King's assassination. Things were never the same after that. The motel faced a long and steep decline of business and finally, in 1982, went up for foreclosure. A group of prominent Memphians and civil rights activists answered the public outcry to save Lorraine and formed the Martin Luther King Memorial Foundation.
Originally, we were just formed out of the necessity of saving the Lorraine Motel because it was being sold at foreclosure. And we had had no discussions at that point. We were just busy trying to raise the money to buy the motel.
DeArmey Bailey, who at the time was a lawyer, says the foundation's name eventually changed to the Lorraine Civil Rights Museum Foundation to avoid any legal trouble with Dr. King's family.
And actually, I was rather pleased by that because I really wasn't out to see a Martin Luther King museum. We were simply going to use this extraordinary historic site and teach about the civil rights movement.
Not long after that, the campaign to save Lorraine took off.
Foreclosure auction, Lorraine Motel, Memphis, Tennessee, sale to be conducted at Shelby County Courthouse at 12 noon.
DeArmey Bailey spearheaded the effort to help the foundation raise $144,000 to buy the Lorraine Motel on the courthouse steps in downtown Memphis during a public auction.
When the bidding got to about $75,000, $80,000, most of the others who were bidding dropped out.
Lorraine Motel is saved, but the next big hurdle was figuring out how to find enough money and support in order to convert this site into a museum and recognize the place where Dr. King was assassinated.
After the property was saved from foreclosure, the next step was, what are we going to do?
Archie Willis III spoke on behalf of his late father, A.W. Willis Jr., who played a political role in helping to establish the National Civil Rights Museum. He was the first African-American elected to the state legislature since Reconstruction.
And he had came up with a plan to provide 3% financing to homeowners called the Home Buyers Revolving Loan Fund that involved the county and the state.
His son recounts the next hurdle the group faced to preserve the motel.
Of course, I think the total budget was, I believe, $8.8 million at that time, and they started trying to determine where the money could come from.
Back then, the foundation knew that they could raise some money, but not that kind of money.
So the idea was to talk with the state, county, and city about being significant funders, because this is something that group felt the public sector should embrace and support. And we needed to honor Dr. King's legacy.
Willis was pivotal in reaching out to Tennessee lawmakers in Nashville, including Ned McWhirter, who back then was a longtime House Speaker looking to run for governor. There were 2 groups of people who spoke out about preserving the legacy of the National Civil Rights Museum. You had those who were for it and those who were against it.
Why would you want to have a museum where a person was assassinated? Well, it means a lot to us, and we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that this was the place where he was assassinated, and it's not something we're proud of, but it's history, and we need to turn it into a positive.
And the positive is exactly what happened, starting with McWhirter. He won.
He won.
And he kept
his promise.